Hello and welcome to Inspire's Unplugged Dialogue series. Inspire is a Horizon Europe project that started in October 2022 and will finish the end of September 2026. The aim of Inspire is to create the European Centre of Excellence on inclusive gender equality in research and innovation. Inspire really has two main aims. Firstly, to build up the evidence base on how to integrate an intersectional perspective into gender equality plans, as well as providing practical support to 12 communities of practice of approximately 90 organisations working together to design, implement and evaluate an inclusive change process. Thanks very much to Maria Olivella for taking part in today's session. Maria Olivella has a PhD in anthropology and a master's degree in gender and development studies, as well as a master's degree in international relations and a bachelor's degree in political science. She currently directs the Quality Unit, the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Unit of the Open University of Catalonia. She's dedicated her professional career to researching, assessing and teaching on topics such as gender inequality, intersectionality and organisational transformation processes using an interdisciplinary approach based on the fields of political science, anthropology, as well as social psychology. Outside of the academic field, she's also worked on these topics as a consultant and as a technical manager for regional agencies, international organisations and non-profit organisations. So the aim of this podcast is to really try and get a practitioner's perspective of managing an effective change process, specifically the shift from a focus on gender equality to a more inclusive approach. Welcome, Maria, to today's Unplugged Dialogue series. We've got a few questions. So could you please tell us a little bit about the WOC Equality Unit and the Gender Equality Plan?
Hello, Rachel, and thanks for inviting me. And thanks for letting us explain to this big audience what we are doing at Universitat Oberta de Catalunya. Right now, we are in a moment of change because we are shifting from being the equality unit towards an inclusive equality, diversity and inclusion unit. Yeah. This is not fully official, but we are doing that right now. So what I'm going to explain to you is what we've done until now. Okay. And later I'm going to explain what we are going to do after this shift. And what we've done until now is to have a dual strategy on gender equality and sexual diversity. So we've been working in these two axes of inequality. So we've kind of had an intersectional approach, but only with two axes of inequality, gender equality and sexual diversity. And tackling these two axes of inequality, we've done it through, as I said before, a dual strategy. First, having a task force, which is the Gender Equality Unit. Yeah. And the other strategy is having a gender equality plan that mainstreams this topic through the whole institution, but also empowers different departments and top management to make this plan their own plan so that they can then apply it to their departments.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit about how the plan was developed?
Yeah. We began to envision this plan in 2019. Yeah. At that point, we had a previous gender equality plan. The 2015-2019 plan was in place. So when we started designing the current plan, which has been a plan that goes from 2020 to 2024, so we are finishing this plan right now. That plan, what we did is trying to be very precise on the process of having a whole cycle, plan cycle. So we started evaluating the previous plan. Yeah. We did a gender diagnosis of the whole institution, but we focus on all the dimensions of the university. So we focused on how gender equality was included in teaching, in research, in communications, and in the organizational culture. Okay. So after this diagnosis, we designed and implemented a bottom-up participatory strategy for designing the plan, and we gathered many members of the community, from teaching staff to admin staff to students, alumni, etc. And with them, we created working groups for each work stream of the plan. Yeah. And we designed a plan that for us was very important, that it was based in a very robust theory of change and had a logic framework structure.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit about what helped the implementation of the plan?
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting question, because I think there are many elements that have helped this plan to be implemented, and I think they have very different nature, very different origins. These elements that have helped the implementation of the plan. First, and I'm gonna tell all of them because I think there are many that are in place or that have been in place. No, first, there has been a very strong institutional commitment, especially from certain vice chancellors. I think top management commitment has been very important for us, and we had that, and we were very lucky to have that. Yeah. Then also to have a strategic planning mentality. I think really, as I said before, designing the plan with having the mentality of the logic framework, a theory of change, a conceptual framework. I think this is super important, so that you have a plan that it's very rooted on the institution. Then a very important issue or dimension of the success of the plan has been taking into account the governance of the plan since the beginning, and having the commitment of top management in this governance. Okay. So we had a very clear idea since the beginning of who was responsible of what and when and in which, and the processes, the decision processes of the plan. That has been very important. And then also including monitoring and evaluation as an essential part of the plan since the beginning. It was one of the work streams of the plan. Also, the leadership of the plan, I think it's very important, that has a dual personality or dual skills. I think what it was important is that the leadership had knowledge on gender equality and sexual diversity academically, but also expertise in organizational transformation. I think to lead a plan like this, we need knowledge in these two dimensions.
So that's the scientific knowledge as well as like the administrative knowledge of organizational change process.
I think we need both knowledges. Also, an important factor was that we had and I say had, because right now I don't know where we are, we had a very good context, historically and politically. The European Union has helped a lot to give us legitimacy, and in Spain also our normative framework has helped a lot. We are going to see if things shift in Europe and also in Spain. Yeah. But that has helped us massively.
Okay. So can you explain a little bit about what has hindered its implementation? So what have been the problems that you've faced?
Yeah. I can think more about things that have helped that have hindered, which I think is good. And which means that it has been a quite successful plan, I think. But there are factors that have hindered the implementation. First, I think conceptual complexity is a factor that we need to take into account. Gender equality has different conceptual frameworks, like overlapping in Europe and in different parts and different, how do you call it, different feminism schools have different conceptual frameworks. So really trying to take into account all of them, but also having to commit to one of them is a complexity that we need to face.
Yeah.
Also, mainstreaming, it's very easy to say, but very difficult to implement. Mainstreaming a plan throughout an institution means that everyone knows what they need to do, they understand the concepts, they know how to do it, and you need to be really on top in a very gentle way, but you need to be on top of lots of things. So that is quite challenging.
Yeah.
And then also I want to add that it's difficult to implement a plan if you have a small team. We were 2 people implementing the plan until the middle of the plan. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
So that has been very challenging, and especially because equality units, at least in Spain, are the ones who are managing the sexual harassment cases. So while we were implementing the plan, it was 2 of us, and we were managing the sexual harassment cases or inquiries we had about this. So that has been quite challenging.
So a lack of resources on one level.
Yeah, but also the different nature of planning vis-a-vis the little fires that appear every day regarding very concrete cases that need a very particular management of the case. So you really need to listen to the person. What do you need? What is happening to you? How can we help you? We try to not be machines while we address sexual harassment cases, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of care. And with lack of resources, that is very challenging.
Okay. So what do you think has been the biggest achievement or one of the biggest achievements of the plan?
I think, if I look at the plan, doing a zoom out, I think the biggest achievement is implementing the whole cycle of the plan, sticking to the planning, and while at the same time trying to be able to, or trying to improve it, as the theory of change tells us. We need to keep evaluating ourselves and improving. And I think we've been able to do that, and I feel very proud of this. I am also very, very proud of having negotiated the plan with the unions, as the Spanish legislation tells us. That appeared in the middle of implementing the plan, the new norms. And in Spain, this is very strict, how you need to negotiate it, what topics need to negotiate, in what steps you need to do that. And we did that, and we could register the plan in the Ministry of Work, so that I'm very happy about that. And finally, I want to say that I'm very proud of the sexual harassment protocol that we improved in 2020, and we've modified again in 2024. But from 2020 to 2024, we've been able to use a document that was very useful, was very practical. It had technical advice for anyone that was involved with the protocol. So I think, these are the achievements, but I think there are many others.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And what do you think is unique about the WOC, the Open University of Catalonia's plan, in comparison to other Catalan or Spanish equality plans?
I think the first one is the digital nature of WOC.
Yeah.
I think that makes us unique because we need to really imagine new ways of dealing with any type of inequality. We also have different challenges. So that is something I think WOC can really share with the rest of the European community, university community or European research area, because I really think that can help lots of universities. Actually, we are doing that in the Open EU Alliance and the Open EU inclusive gender equality plans community of practice. And the second thing that makes our plan unique, I think we put a lot of energy and work into the teaching dimension of the plan, the teaching work stream.
Yeah.
And we created lots of instruments and strategies for including gender equality in teaching.
Okay.
And finally, the key role of the communication dimension of the plan. I think we've put a lot of effort on doing reflection and designing actions linked to how do we communicate anything in the university, but with an inclusive perspective. And I think that has been very useful in order to really step up in terms of inclusive communication.
Okay, that's really interesting. Can you explain a little bit about the new architectural structure of the plan and the rationale for factoring in other axes of discrimination and privilege?
It could have been called Inclusive Gender Equality Plan, but in Spanish, right now, that concept doesn't make sense, and for us was a bit complex. We also thought about calling it Equity Plan, which we thought it could encompass more all these different dimensions that we want to tackle, but we felt the word equity in Spanish, it's not very common, and it could be a bit weird.
Yeah.
And that no one would understand what we are dealing with. So we decided we would call it Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion Plan.
Yeah.
Because we believe it resonates with these different genealogies of political work and organizational change in institutions. So equality resonates with gender equality, diversity resonates with sexual diversity and cultural diversity, and inclusion resonates with disabilities.
Okay.
So what we are going to do is we are going to design a plan that has these 4 axes of inequality as the main topics. Yeah. But also we want to introduce class as a very important comprehensive topic that it's going to be tackled in the 4 axes of inequality. But also we want to have quite a bit of actions that are intersectional or that tackle the 4 axes of inequality in a perhaps not all of them at the same time. It depends on the problems that we detect in our evaluation and diagnosis. But we really, really are interested in looking at intersections that we are missing right now. So these black or gaps that we are not tackling with our current plan.
Okay, and so why do you think this new approach is so important?
Well, precisely because of the gaps, no, and the blind spots, no, that we have with non-intersectional approaches. So, as we know, if we address only one axis of inequality, we are missing different needs that this group that is not homogeneous have.
Yeah.
And the second, if we only tackle one axis of inequality, normally and it's very normal to only address the normative part of this non-homogeneous group.
Yeah.
So if we focus on women, for example, normally we tend to think about very normative women.
Yeah.
And we are letting women that have very specific needs out of the equation.
Yeah.
So I think an intersectional approach and I don't want to say that we are going to do a perfectly well done intersectional approach, but at least having this equality, diversity, and inclusion approach with an intersectional perspective in our mind, it's going to makes us be more inclusive. We are going to be able to tackle the challenges in a more precise way and a more comprehensive perception of of reality.
Okay. So what sort of challenges do you foresee with this shift from focusing on gender equality to going towards a unit which is focused on equality, diversity, and inclusion?
I mean, anything that is more complex is always challenging.
Yeah.
Because it takes us out of the box. So let's start with this. We know that having 4 axes of inequality is more complex than having 1. But that doesn't need us to stop, no? It just, we need more energy. Of course, I see a challenge if they don't give us enough resources in terms of money, but also like a budget, and also in terms of human resources. Right now, if we really want to be intersectional, we will also have to address, for example, cases of racism within the university or ableism. And that takes time, money, and expertise. So that's one of the challenges. Also, I see a challenge with some people that think that if we address all the topics at the same time, we're going to miss something. And I always think that it's normal to have this first reaction, but I think we need to be compassionate, and we need to understand that everyone deserves to be heard and be taken care. So if there are enough resources, and I believe we will have it, we will be able to address everyone's needs. But I'm a bit worried that addressing intersectionality for some people feels a threat or missing something, because it's not missing something. It's about including more people. We really need to work with these people that have this fear to just help them understand that this is about them also.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Maria, for taking the time to speak with us today. That was very, very interesting.
Thank you, Rachel.